What is up, everyone? This is Herschel Froome from High School Top 200, and this is the Top 200 podcast, the Monday morning meeting. Now, we got some stuff to go through today. Some stuff that's really changed the landscape, the look, I guess the direction. I think there's a lot of showing, a lot of telling things about some teams. There's been a lot of switches within the top 10, which I think is going to show, I guess, in a few weeks how important I think those losses are, especially with the way some of these competitions are going, and the way that competitions are done, especially in the 1A where they don't have finals, which is still strange to me. I still haven't received the answer back of why they don't when everybody else has finals within the same period of time, within the same the same period of time that everyone is having finals, semifinals, and finals. The 1A just decided not to have it. I don't know what secret competition they're going to be having between one competition to the sevens, but I mean, hey, that's just them. They want to do it on points, and so that's how it's going to go. But everybody else is pretty much still the same. I think the CNI is the only one that's got a different way of their competition working, and that's based just on distance. The Super 8's still the same. For the most part, just, I guess games are being squeezed in. But, yeah, obviously we have a new number one. Obviously, you're going to see who the number one is. And it is only fair. And like, I mean, I just had this feeling that Hastings wasn't going to win this game. I just had a feeling that St. Kitts wasn't going to win the game. I knew that Sacred Heart and St. Peter's were going to go back and forth, but I didn't pick St. Peter's. I picked Sacred Heart, and AJ Faleafanga just kicked them to victory pretty much, and St. Peter's and the game in all honesty wasn't that great for both sides. It really wasn't, and there was a lot of mistakes. To me, I think they both had their worst game. Both teams had their worst game on the same game, which was kind of good because, I mean, if one team had a really good game and the other team didn't, it would have blown them out. It would have kind of looked pretty deceptive in the way that it happened, and you'd think that one team was useless when they weren't, but they both pretty much had bad games on the same game. Sacred Heart just really wasn't playing that well, making heaps of mistakes. St. Peter's were also the same. They didn't actually play that well either. And both teams had a great first 15 minutes, I thought was really cool. And then pretty much after that, it wasn't that structured, wasn't that great. No one really dominated any kind of... Yeah, no one even really dominated any real part of the game. Not scrums, not lineouts, not. But I mean, I guess that when you play at home, you can kick from wherever because that's where you've been training and that's what you're used to. And AJ was just that for them. I mean, Tito played really good. Conrad played really good. Even though I think he was the one that got the card, he still played really good. Jerry was also really good from fullback. Got that intercept try, which at the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, like they're lucky they had that try. They're lucky they started off with something like that. And then, like I said, it was only the first 15 minutes where things looked really good and structured for both teams. And then after that, it just wasn't. And I think the guys that were standing next to me, or like the three guys next to me and the one on my right, we all saw the intercept coming, and somehow Sacred Heart didn't. But we all saw Jerry running up, And I think I recorded it too. I'm not too sure, but we all saw him flying through, and they just didn't see that lane that he was coming on. But he read that from a while back. Like you could just see him. You could just see him watch him. And it's just one of those things that I like from him as well as a fullback. Because I mean, some guys have talked to me about him being like a centre or a winger or something like that. But I was like, I don't know, man. Like I just like that attacking from the back that he does. And it's cool how he switches back and forth with AJ because AJ's also I don't know if AJ's a better fullback or first five. Even for me, I wouldn't even know where I would put him. I'd probably just leave it up to him, to be honest. Like if he was on my team and he said I want to play fullback, I'd be like, oh yeah, cool. Like you'll be great. And if he said first five, I'd be like, yeah, cool, it's pretty great. But I mean, like they've got Jerry, and so to me, it's just like, well, if Jerry's a good fullback and you're a good first five, why not just do it that way? Um, but Jaden Kingy also as well, he played really good. I really liked what he did. Um, Zach Shanks played really good. I thought he played. Oh, the only thing I didn't like was Sacred Heart penalties. I thought they were kind of a bit silly. But silly in the way that you can't touch the ball in the rucks, but they were just putting their hands out there. It was just things that um, I don't know. I just thought that they would be a lot smarter than that. And they were in their own half. I think, but that's like something that you don't really think about, especially when you're kids. And we just say it as adults because we know now after experience. But kids just don't have that experience sometimes. And some kids are onto it, some kids just aren't. But that was just one of those ones that I liked about the game. Um, yeah, even the Wesley one was strange. Like the Wesley one shouldn't have been close. To me, Wesley was obviously better, and they showed it for 60. No, they showed it for about 55 minutes. Let's say about 55 minutes. They showed that they were better. They got that intercept try. Francis Douglas got the intercept try, which was okay. That's fine. And that was like another silly pass where I was standing there, I was looking at the guy, and he was kind of looking at the guy passing the ball, and then he ran in. And I'm sure they saw each other, but I don't know, he still passed the ball for some reason. I think it's just one of those reaction things where you think, well, just the ball's kicked down, let's spread it out and take it to the other side. And dude was just standing there waiting for the ball and said thanks and scored a try. But apart from that, everything else was just Wesley. And then Wesley just, I don't know, I think finished the game too early, and then Francis Douglas really came back, and came back really good. Both Sulfini brothers were good, Denzel and Xavier. Both of them were good. I really liked Logan. Josh played good. I don't know the seven's name, but he played really good too. Him in the center I really liked as well. For Francis Douglas. And yeah, I think those were the two that really brought him back and kept him in it. And remember, Denzel's not a first five, and he had to play first five, and he has to play first five in terms of what's best for the team. But he's really, to me, he's like a centre fullback, one of those two positions, and he's put in a position. And I think some kids don't understand that when you go, and only backs, I guess, would understand this. That if you go from centre to first five, obviously your time is cut pretty short, and reaction time for how fast that defense moves, and you still see the defense as a solid defense, because once it goes to second five and then center, by then you see who the lazy defenders are, where the gaps keep opening up, where the gaps opening up, and then you see where you want to attack, where first five you sort of have to predict where the opening is going to be and have a big guess of where it's gonna happen. And so Denzel's going to take a while to figure that out, because that's not just something that just happens. And so, yeah, I hope that they figure it out somehow. But Francis Douglas shouldn't have been in that game at all. In my mind, is Wesley had the control and should have just kept scoring points instead of trying to finish the game with the points that they already had. And that's kind of what it felt like. They weren't attacking that much anymore. But when you see the first half, like if you see some of the first half highlights, clips that I had, every chance that they got the ball, they spread it out to that left-hand side, and they were just making breaks down that side. And it wasn't just backs; it was forwards and backs together making breaks down that left-hand side. And so I just thought Wesley should have just kept going with that. And even in the second half, just keep smashing it through, but just didn't work out that way, and they just took a nap, I guess. And then right at the end, they were just fighting for those last 5 minutes, and the lucky Francis Douglas didn't score. And because I have a feeling that Francis Douglas scored again, even with like 3 minutes left, I have a feeling that they would have went down and did it again and scored again somehow. Because Wesley was still taking that nap that little Sunday nap after a feed. So I don't know what was happening. You definitely felt the change. I think it is. You definitely felt the switch and momentum when you're watching that game. And Wesley Wesley need to watch that again, and the boys need to figure out how to motivate themselves, especially when they're ahead. Not when they're behind. That's when they're ahead and they fall asleep a little bit. They did it as well in the Manurewa game. And I have a feeling that the Manurewa game was harder than the one that they had on Saturday, but they almost lost that one. But then even in the Manurewa one, they kind of went to sleep as well. So that's just something the boys have to, they pretty much just have to get around each other and say, all right, this is the time that we get to sleep, that we fall asleep. Like, come together at 50 minutes or 50, 55 minutes ago, hey, this is the time we sleep, let's wake up and let's just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And just have like that mental note between each other to go, let's kick it up now. Instead of dropping down or coasting or whatever it is, especially when they're up, just to like keep it going, and then just keep pushing on to score more points. It's about scoring more points, not being satisfied with the lead that you have and then just sitting on that lead. And pretty much defending that lead the whole time, defending that scoreline the whole time, because then you've just given up on scoring more points. The Marlborough Nelson game, I heard was a pretty solid effort by Marlborough, and both of those teams played even on Saturday as well, which is pretty cool to go back to back within that same week, because that's a lot of games. St. Andrews one was pretty good. Good hit out by Timaru too. Like, Timaru's just been banged with like injuries, and you just can't help that kind of stuff, especially with a short season like this and so compact. Because remember, these kids are playing through the holidays and stuff like that. And is a ball season coming up soon? I think it's like ball season, right? Like, everyone's postponed the ball and they're having it around now. And usually teams that have, I don't know, you just got to hope that you have a pretty easy game that week that your ball is on, because teams that have a ball later on that night, for some reason, they just don't win. They just don't win. And of course, man, because boys aren't thinking about the rugby game when you got a ball coming up that same night, and you got a pretty ass date, and you got your suit ready, go out there and stunt with It's that kind of thing. So that's understandable as well. But the New Plymouth game against Francis Douglas, that's a matchup there. And after seeing the rosters, I know that both teams held out of that game for the up and coming week and then played the better rosters that they had. And I don't know if that's like a good thing or not, but I mean, their bragging rights within the city, I guess, still stay with New Plymouth boys. But that's a big rivalry. I like, just like the Silverstream and Town one. I really like that rivalry. And even the game, I enjoyed it a lot. And Town being 10 up at half time, lost that lead, but also you just lost a lot of structure in that. I just found the structure didn't hold tight, and I could kind of feel it at the end of the first half, which is the reason why I made that comment of if Town could hold on, because they finished attacking. They finished defending for, I would say, like 4 minutes or so within just their half and also their 22, where they were just, and they were making some big hits too. Like they were smashing some of those Silverstream guys, but there were penalties. Then they would play penalty, carry on penalty, and then as they finally got out of it, and then they went on attack, and they almost scored a try, but then when the half was over, it felt like it deflated at the same time. And then as the second half went on, Stream scored pretty much straight away, then Town scored, and then after that, it was just that Silverstream blew all the way after that. So, and that dominance, I think, still reigns, hangs over the Town guys' heads. That that's just the way it is, I guess. Sometimes, then just have to have those teams. I think just have to have that moment when they get over it, and then they finally get the win that they need, especially over like a rival like that, and with the history that they have as well. That's a big game. I really like that matchup, that tradition that Town and Silverstream have. Wanganui High School and Wanganui Collegiate, which is like an intercity clash as well, but Wanganui Collegiate just blew that one out, 89-0. St. Kentigern's had the same problem, and and from the reports I get, and I'm hoping to get the game, hopefully it's today or tomorrow. And I've seen a lot of clips from it, like a lot of parents and players and that have sent me clips of the game, and it is kind of what I expected, where the forwards did take over, and then the backs just went to town and were really just crashing it. But the great thing about this is that St. Kentigern's held Auckland Grammar to 10 points, where I actually thought Grammar might put on within the teens, like a 17, 19, maybe hit 20. But to hold them to 10 points is great, and that is a real positive to me for St. Kentigern's, knowing that them young boys in that back line really stood up, because that back line for Auckland Grammar is a solid attacking back line, and you could kind of say that they shut them down. Even on the back foot, they were still making a defensive front against a really good attacking back line. And the try was set up too by Cullen Gray, who's a year 11 as well, first five for Auckland Grammar, and I'm thinking that he's going to keep his spot too, which is great. Like I like that because I like Cullen Gray and the way that he plays. And last year when I saw him when he was under 15, he was a skinny little kid, kind of looked fragile, kind of short. And then hopefully over the holidays, and I knew he was going to try it out for first 15. And then I seen him on his preseason game against Mags. I thought, far out, like he's growing, and it's good that he's growing. He's growing taller. He's getting a bit more muscle into it. And then after these games, you can see his confidence as well. And he did like one of those. He did one of those chip kicks. Fihi was the one that grabbed it. And then he backed up and then scored under the post. And when you see it, it's just great flow in that back line with him. And so, even though Auckland Grammar got the win, St. Kentigern's I still think did really well to hold them to 10 points. Hamilton Boys is the other one that they won in the weekend. Now they've moved up to number 1. And then Grammar's number 2. I got Palmy number 3, and I was still thinking Palmy actually. I was deciding where they are a number 2 team or number 3 team, but this weekend they play Hamilton Boys. That if they beat Hamilton Boys, they are number 1. If they And the reason why is that if they beat Hamilton Boys, they they would go to number one. If they lose to Hamilton Boys, um, they will hold their spot in the 3 or 4 range. They're not moving out of that top 5 if they lose. If they lose in a good game, if they get blown out, then they're not looking like a top 5 team. But I do give excuses for one loss because everybody is given that one loss. Okay, it was just one loss. But when you get one loss with a big margin, that kind of says different things. But then you have those kind of scores when you play against Hamilton Boys. Even though Hamilton Boys is one of those teams that you always try and play good against, you always try and play your best against them. There's always just that thing in all these kids' minds that when they play Hamilton Boys is, oh, I don't know if we can even hang with these guys sometimes. It's just that one of those intimidating things that you're not scared of them, but you're aware of how good they are. And that legacy starts on the bus when you're thinking about you're playing Hamilton Boys. How good are they going to be? How many New Zealand secondary schools they might have? You think about how many Super 8 titles they have, how many national titles they have, how many times they kill it in sevens, how many times they kill it in touch. And they're all just rugby boys. And so that's just one thing that, the boys sort of psych themselves out about. I don't think that's the case in terms of Palmy. Because I know Palmy's got some big boys that don't. Honestly, they just don't give a F. To be honest, they don't care about that being Hamilton Boys, and I know that for sure. I know that for sure, and I know that front row is gonna be gunning for Hamilton Boys this weekend, and I'm gonna stay here for that game because I thank my Heavenly Father that He put the roster this way so I could stay here and watch that game and watch number 1 Hamilton play number 3 Palmy Boys. And I still haven't decided who I think is going to win. And I really don't know. And I don't even have a favorite either. Because I don't think Hamilton Boys is a favorite. Being the number 1 team in the country, I still don't think that they are the favorites. I still think that Hamilton Boys, Auckland Grammar, Palmy Boys, St. Kings, Hastings, St. Peter's, and I have to add Kings High School and Sacred Heart, those 9. There's not much between all of those teams. There's not much at all between all of those teams. And tomorrow everyone gets to see what Kings High School looks like. Really, we'll see what they look like. And their big boys, I know that their big boys are going to be out there. Ryan's going to be out there smashing some dudes, and he's one of the best props in the country. You still got Jay Davis, one of the best open size loose forwards around, who I think can still come back next year because he's a young year 13 or year 12 this year. And you still got Steve, you still got Mohonrai. Even their bench is stacked. I was looking at their bench. Even their bench is pretty stacked in that forward pack, and they got some big ass boys too. And so I'm keen to see, just like everybody else is, to see what they look like against Southland Boys High. And Southland Boys High is no joke either. So I'm really keen to see what it looks like. But I have those nine teams so close together in terms of how high and how low they drop. And I actually feel like there's a bit of a distance. I mean, I guess you could add Kelston Boys and St. Andrews in that. But at the same time, like, I'm not too sure, eh? Yeah, I'm not too sure about Kelston in a way. And I've seen them a few times already. 2 times at the games, and then 1 on film. And yeah, I'm not quite sure about. I'm not quite sure about how they are. I mean, they've got one of the best halfbacks in the country who could push for New Zealand secondary schools as well. Even over the ones that I picked in Hotham and Noah Hotham and also Joel Parry. even guys over that, I still think Sam is ranked up there with them. And Sam's a young year 13, and he could even come back next year. And that's how good he is. So he really should be year 12 as one of the best halfbacks in the country. Is also the same kind of thing where I think that he still hangs with the best of them. But then that also, he's not the only one in the team. You still have 14 other guys there that have to also play to the standard that their talent is. I know that team has so much talent, but I don't think, this is just me personally feeling, I just don't think that all of them are playing to what they know they can play to. It's like some of them are holding back for some reason. Center's playing really good. Who is it? Silas is the other one who's playing really good that I really like. Chris is getting better at first five. Caleb was really good at open side, even though I think he's more of a number 8, but because you got center in there as well. Tino, I really like it at hooker as well. Having Tony Tuffer, what's his name? Is it JT Bellamy? Those guys, I really like them, and then there's just something, I don't know. I don't know what's off about it, but there's just something that doesn't look like the emptying the tank on the field. Yeah, there's something about it. Anyways, but I mean, I would add them. I would add them to that 9, but right now I'm just thinking just that 9, right? Um, and uh, where we at? Kings against Dilworth, 53-13 is kind of, yeah, it's kind of what I kind of expected with that kind of scoreline. And I remember seeing that uh, someone from Dilworth, some supporter from Dilworth, messaged me early, and he was just like, "Bro, we are up. We're over these guys right now." And I think it was 10-0, or I think it might have been 13-0 or something like that. And then I don't know, Kings came to their senses, I guess, and I don't know, just took a bit longer to start, I guess. But I picked Mags over Kelston, and 11-9 was a really really close game, and that's just like a bounce of the ball kind of thing. Well, that's going to be interesting of how good Mags is going to be and how close they can push themselves closer to that top 10. And Mags have a lot of young guys that are going to be back next year, so they're going to be a team to worry about as well. Um, Fielding with a really good win. Rotorua boys won over Tauranga, and I didn't think that was going to happen, but 15-0 is a really good score. Um, Gizzy, they lost to Napier, going down to Napier, but they held around for a while. I just don't think that Gisborne's that far off what they want to be like. And their young backline is still learning, and they're still trying to figure it out. Um, and I'm not too sure how far they'll be away from figuring it out, but I know that they're still close. And they're doing really good with a backline that is really inexperienced and really young. And a lot of these guys can come back as well. I think there's only 2 forwards who are not coming back from the starting forward pack and the bench. And everybody else is back. And in the backline, only 1 goes or 2 goes. And so they've got a really good crop of players right now to figure it out, and then try to take them into the sort of into next year, and then hopefully make a really big push next year with the players that they've got coming back, and all of them are going to have like a lot of a good season of experience, playing for Gisborne this year. The St. Paul's Collegiate game, I had the score. To me, the score would have been the other way around. Was what I thought the game would finish at. Because St. John's, like I said before, they're not a bad team. They're just young, and they've got to figure something out in terms of figuring out the speed, figuring out the game plan, figuring out the how important execution is when you're running plays, and when when you're calling a play off set pieces, um, figuring out distance and time between you and the defense, and then being so accurate and executing things on point and the way it's going to be. That to me is what St. John's have to figure out this year before next year, where I know they're going to blow up. I didn't expect that to happen though against St. Paul's Collegiate. Maybe St. Paul's got ahead of themselves, thinking that they've already won this, knowing that to me, man for man, they have a better team, but you still have to put it together on the field once that whistle blows and tells you to kick off. You don't win on paper. And so I don't know. I've seen a few clips, not a lot, but I hope to get a game from them so I can watch it and then see what happened. I was jumping back and forth with this Christ game as well against St. Bede's. I wasn't too sure like who to go if I just went with just because I ranked them high, I just went with them first. But man, St. Bede's, they must be kicking themselves that they let that Waimea one go, because they would have been what 4-1 right now. They would have only dropped one game, which is the one against Stack, which is okay. That's fine if you lose against Stack on your first game of the season, but they're sitting more at 4-2. Oh yeah, they've played 6. They're at 4-2 when they really should be 5-1. Which is what I think they are, is a 5-1 team right now, because they shouldn't have dropped that Waimea, and they just, I guess it's just one of those things. But I mean, they still got a lot of season to make it up. They still got. It's not like they're out of the running or anything like that, because they're definitely going to be there. To me, they're going to be in that top 4 UC championship bracket. But I think they're going to figure out how high they want to stay up on that. And I don't think that they should fall. If they fall out of that 1, 2, or 3, then to me that's just like they've underplayed themselves, because I think that they're that good of a team, especially after seeing them in that first game and seeing them play against Shirley, which was a really tough one as well. And they definitely fought out of that one, and that game could have went either way as well. They had a really good move off that game where it was like a 9-10-8 move where it just opened up in that backline. They scored under the post, which was such a... They just executed it on time, and just that timing was really, really good. And so, I just think that they're just one of those teams. And then Shirley losing to Christchurch Boys, which I picked Shirley to win, and Christchurch to lose again. And they were in that 29-23 range of scoreline range. And so, it just came down to that last try, well, I think they could have won it. I mean, Christchurch still, I think you still got to remember as well, is that when a team with a tradition like Christchurch Boys is on the defensive and on the back foot with their schoolmates, their school, their crest on their chest, the old boys club, all the supporters and parents, and then they know that they should be winning these games but are not. I think that brings a lot out of the players, and so I can understand that win if they were playing for pride, because they definitely did that, and they definitely kept themselves alive within that competition. And they still got a few hard games to go through, so they're not really out of it yet. They still got St. Bede's coming along, and they still got who was it? Nelson College, or I think they're playing Nelson, who they play Nelson this week, and they have to travel for that game too. And so, that's going to be a harsh one. That's going to be a difficult one too, because Nelson is looking great right now. Nelson's sitting real pretty right now, and Nelson wants that game, because I believe that Nelson, they believe they can beat Christchurch Boys even right now. Even though Christchurch Boys got that win against Shirley, I know that Nelson is looking at them and they think, oh, we can take you out if you come up here. If you come up here, we're going to take you guys out. And so Christchurch Boys really have to live for this game and not take this one for granted, because if they get that next loss, it's going to be really hard to convince the competition that they deserve to be in that top four or that top eight. No, they'll be in the top eight, but they're in that top four category of one of the best teams in the UC Championship, and so they have to get a win out of this one. Um, Saint the Tangaroa College one, I knew that those guys were going to win, and that was a close game too. Liston has some really good structure right now, and I think they just have to get back into it. They've got a good group of players and a good group of and a good area that to pull from as well with Liston. And I think the other thing with Liston is that because they got Calston Boys just up the road, I feel like they lose a little bit to Calston Boys in terms of where boys want to go to school and play rugby. And Liston College is just in that unfortunate, I guess, spot, and especially with Waitaki, they're just there as well. I think they lose some boys, but even with the boys that they got there, like they are still a really talented school in terms of players that they have. Tangaroa's really lifted their game, and I think Tangaroa's going to get better and better with the rugby program that they have now at that school. And the boys in that area are going to want to stay at that school too. And some boys are going to start going over to Tangaroa College within that era, especially with those guys, especially with those league schools that have rugby players that want to actually play rugby. I have a feeling they're going to start choosing Tangaroa College to go to in terms of further because their rugby program there is so good, and I would understand that 100% too. Like I wouldn't. I would think the same thing as just like, yeah, if my son, if I was living in the area and my son wanted to go to a good rugby program, one that was actually building within the area, that would be one of those programs I would pick to go to as Tangaroa College, just in terms of rugby alone. Um, because I think that they are actually building something, and I can see it year to year how good it is getting. Um, the St. Paul's, I thought St. Paul should have won this game. Like I thought they were going to beat Mount Roskill. Um, and this is their second draw as well, St. Paul's. Who was their first draw to? This is their second draw of the season. Who was the other one last year? Help me out. There was someone last year that was it in the North Harbour competition? They had like 4 draws in the year. But this is yeah, because they drew with Maclean's College as well. Last week 22 all, and this week 11 all. But I was picking them to beat Mount Roskill. Hey, I don't know what happened in that game. It'd be cool to watch that game though because I'd be interested to see how that played out. Um, Otahu College again, just 32-8. I'm still convinced that they're a 1A team. There's got to be another way you can get the better teams that are the better teams in the next year. And like I've talked about, obviously I've talked about this before, but I don't understand how. I mean, I understand the system of why, but then I don't understand the reasoning in terms of why are you letting that team have a chance when those players from that team are gone now that achieved that thing, they're now gone. They just achieved something for the players coming through in the next year who may not be as good and as talented, but they get the shot when another team has rebuilt from last year and also look better this year. And Otahu College is one of them. Because I actually think Otahu College can hang with Liston, Tangaroa, and Dilworth. I think those ones, and Maclean's is another one that I think uh, as probably one of those teams as well. They just got to get a few things sorted out. I mean, they won against Howick, and Howick is not a bad side at all. But Maclean's is one of those schools as well. Southern Cross having a good one against Pakudanga High School is good. 30 points is a lot, and I still think that. I still think that the stacked with league boys as well. And the thing about Southern Cross is that Southern Cross is a league school with league players playing rugby, and they just need a coach. They just need a coach, and I know that they just have a league coach just jumping in there just so the boys can play. I mean, if that's the way that it was last year and the year before, and that's understandable. But these boys are just so talented. They're talented, and they just need to be go. They just need some direction in that. Um, Ongehanga got a win against One Tree Hill, which I thought Botany Downs winning. Edgewater lost to Rosehill. Oh yeah, I picked that one. Alfriston as well. Congrats to Mangere. MC got their win. Congrats to you fellas. Just keep it going. That's not the end of the season. I know that you guys have been gunning for a win, but now let's make the goal 2. And then when you get your second one, make it a third one. And just keep pushing those wins and keep up that confidence and don't relax. Keep pushing, keep listening to your coaches and doing all that kind of stuff because your coaches are right because you got this win. That's what I know. The coaches are right because you got this one. Keep listening to them and believing that you can get your next one because I believe that you can get a next one. And because I think you guys, who do they play? MC have got... Where is it? Rosehill. You guys got Rosehill this week, which is doable. Yeah, I think it's doable. I want to see a roster though. I'll try and get a roster and I will see because Rosehill's not a slouch. But I think that you guys can get the win. I mean, beating Pukekohe is a pretty good win too. Marsland beating Mags 1C. I went to the Wesley game. St. Peter's was a surprise too. St. Peter's School, 29-7 against Rathkill. I thought it would be more. Maybe Rathkill has kind of figured it out. But I thought that would have been more. And I'm going to see St. Peter's School soon as well. Westlake winning again. Good win against Takapuna. Mahurangi won, which is a cool game. That was a good game. Rosehill. Rosa, they beat Massey, which I picked. I knew that was going to be a close game. 14-0 is a close game. And Massey's going to be gutted that they didn't put any points on the board because they are a point-scoring team. And they are based off their attacks. The one I'm disappointed at is the Whangarei Boys one. 37-0. That is not who Whangarei Boys is. I don't know what's wrong with them, especially with that game, but that is not who Whangarei Boys is. And whether it's that travel, you guys got to figure it out, man, because that's not a good reflection on who you guys are as a talented team that you guys are as well. Rewa's a good team. I'm not saying that at all. But 37-0 is not Whangarei Boys at all. I don't know what was wrong, but that's not them. That should have... I even picked Rewa to win, but not in that way. I was thinking like a 22-18 game. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking 37-0. And that's obviously like just... Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't even know what to call that kind of stuff. They just didn't show up. That's really what it is. They didn't show up. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Orewa winning over Kaipara 83-0. That's not... Come on, Kaipara. You got to step it up, man. This is a different competition. You can't be losing 83-0 to Orewa. Because then what happens when you play against West? Have you played Westlake yet? If you're playing Westlake with Orewa scoring 83 points at Westlake, you're going to be 100. You got to step your game up, Kaipara, and you're in that competition for a reason. That's the other thing, is that you're in the competition for a reason. So you're not 83-0 separation from Orewa to you guys. That is not a true reflection of what you guys are as a team. Not 83-0 points. That's ridiculous. You guys got to step it up, man. You're in that competition for a reason, so I think you guys need to bring out that game plan. Trident High School 55-0 over Western Heights. I remember Western Heights just lost to Rotorua Boys First 15 69-0. So that's making Trident look real decent right now. That puts them on 100 in the top 100 schools in the country. If you can match it, if you can match a score like that with Rotorua Boys, yeah, you're looking real pretty right now. And if Trident can keep that up, they should be a team that's asking questions of other teams that should play them. Like if that's the case, try and play more CNI teams. Hook up a game against Hatupoto. They're a good side right now. Finally getting it through because they had a win against Turkey College as well, as one of their traditions. And they had a good win this week. Aquinas against Mount Maunganui, they won their one. Still haven't got the Katikati score back against Rotorua Boys 3rd 15. Otumotai College, they beat Tauranga Boys 3rd 15. I thought Te Puke was going to win this Papamoa one against Papamoa College, but 27-14 is a good score, and so there was a fight. But yeah, Papamoa must be a bit better than what I thought. Hauera or Porticu College, I don't have that one. Porticu College, I don't have the Tarawera College score. I don't have the Central versus New Plymouth 3rd 15 score. The Opunake versus Inglewood High School score. I don't have that one either. But the Hauera High School beating Francis Douglas 2nd 15 33-7 is a really good score. I really like that one. Matamata finally playing good and beating Te Awamutu College. Cambridge High School always looking good right now. 41-0. Cambridge just need harder games to play. That's what I think. They just need harder games to play. They are more of a CNI team most years than they are a Waikato competition team. Because they have a lot of talent in that area, and a lot of those kids really do a play above what their competition is. And that's just sad that they have to play in that competition. They just have no other alternative, really. Morrinsville, who is also, I think, a pretty good team, winning 39-19 over Pataru. Forest View putting up a massive score, 71 over Hillcrest. I feel like I'm reading the news. Rototuna Junior High School, that's a new one to me. Like, I don't even know what their uniform looks like, and I'm from Hamilton. They're just across the other side of town. But I know that there's some boys that have gone there, that have made under 15s Waikato and under 16 Waikato, and then they ended up moving over to St. John's or Hamilton Boys because Rototuna Junior High School is just not a program for rugby, and so yeah, they just wanted a bit of rugby opportunity. The one in the King Country, Otahonga, they lost to Taupo Nui Atea College. Tikawiti won. Tikawiti High School won 39-5. That's a good one. Scots College, man. Finally, Scots College got a win that looks like a Scots College win. 58-3 over Wairarapa is a really good score, and I hope that Scots is coming back. I hope that they're making this really big push to come back to where I know that they can be and where I know that they should be. The Mana College is really good against Wellington College, which I knew was going to be a tight game. I knew which was good, could have been a tight game, and I was saying, and the last podcast before, and I was saying that just to play that with the confidence that you're in that competition, 17-28 to me is like you played that you were like you're in the competition, that you weren't scared of the competition. And congrats to you guys for a score like that, and just keep pushing because you know that you could play against Tawa College, even Aotea College, and Tawa College, Mana College, Aotea College are all pretty much in the same place in Porirua, Tawa, Porirua kind of area. I remember I used to live in Tawa for a little bit, so I kind of know the area. And Bishop Viard's right there as well, just on the top of the hill kind of thing. And PC's just around the corner. So like all these schools are all in sort of one place. And they all pretty much know each other in both primary and intermediate together. So Mana College knows that they can hang with those teams. And I have a feeling that they're going to get a few wins. The other one is that St. Bernard's is going to start ripping up now. I have a feeling that St. Bernard's is going to beat... They look like they're going to beat Wellington, and Rongotai playing like that against Aotea tells me that St. Bernard's can probably make a push at Rongotai as well, which I did not expect because I think Rongotai is a better team on paper. I think that they just need to play like it. Unless they did the same thing St. Paul's did and thought they were going to win even before they took the field, which is not how you're really supposed to play, but things like that happen in high school. And so if that's the way that Rongotai was with Aotea, or maybe they were trying some different things, people out of position, stuff like that, they really need to lift it in their next game, whoever that's going to be. Rongotai can't play like that against big schools, or even guys that are just teetering on that big schools like St. Bernard's, because St. Bernard's is going to mess them up if they play like that against Aotea and just have that same structure, man. Like St. Bernard's is coming. But yeah, that Wellington competition is looking pretty tight. But they got to do something and they can't let Extreme and Town be a two-team competition, because you don't want them running the table just to meet back in the finals again. And people already know what the finals is going to be like. But then that's up to Scots and St. Bernard's and Wellington and Rongotai to show that they're still going to stick around. Because if they don't, then I guess the competition was already won in the minds of Town and Silverstream, that it's like, we'll just wait till the finals till we play against them and we can pick it all up. And then you just start seeing Town and Silverstream treat every game like a training run, like a professional training run, to be honest. And you don't really want that. And I've seen competitions like that too, where you know who the top 2-3 teams are, and they just use every single opportunity and every game opportunity just to use it as like a practicing run. And I've heard coaches on the side go, how about we just try this? And then they try and move guys around into awkward positions, and then it'll end up working. But it's like, man, you don't want to play a competition like that where the coaches are just like, we're pretty confident with this one. I mean, I can understand it. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it if I was a coach, but if I knew and I felt that way about my team, I'm like, yeah, we'll just try some stuff, see what happens. Let's take that prop, put him at number 8, see what he can do from there. Oh, I feel bad if I was the other side, but I've seen that happen in games. I've heard that by coaches do stuff like that. Him talk to assistants and go, hey, should we try that thing we did in training and we'll just see what... And I was like, oh, what? That means that you're not even worried about the game anymore. You're just worried about how things could turn out. We'll just try it now in this game. And Silverstream in Town, if the rest of the competition start bunching up into their little group, that's what's going to happen when it comes to Town and Silverstream every week that they play. It's just like they're going to start winning by 40-something points, and then they're going to be like, all right, let's try that hooker open side. Let's put him back and see what that lock can do at second 5, and let's see if we could take the blind side. We'll just put him out in the center, see if he can mark guys, who are quicker, and, just see what our options are when time comes that we have to play in the finals. Things like that. All those injury problem ones. I got it wrong with Porirua. I got it right with Wainuiamata. I got it right with Hibs. I got it wrong with Paraparaumu. I thought Paraparaumu was going to beat Upper Hutt High School too. Bishop Viat, I got it wrong. Nainai College, what's going on? Come on, Nainai, you can't lose 67-5 to Hibs second 15. Nainai's got a good draw of players too, right? If I'm thinking about the right area, they usually have a good selection of players out there. Taito College, they won big in the Paul Cameron Cup. But yeah, that mid-Canterbury game against Aoraki, I want to see that. I picked Aoraki to win that game, and that was 13-12 to mid-Canterbury, and that's a good win for them. Coaches, if you can send me a copy so I can watch, I'll be pretty interested in watching that game, how it turned out. Rangiora High School, I picked that one to beat Marlborough Boys. Marlborough Boys really got to pick it up. They got to find some kind of structure within that team and start putting some stuff together. They can't lose too many more games, Marlborough. They got to go on a win streak. Get on a positive win streak and just start stringing some games together. St. Thomas, I guess, is back to where they were supposed to be, where they beat Lincoln 52-0. They had a little bit of a drop, especially with the holidays. Waimea combined again, 1924. They lost 1924 to Nelson College, which I thought they were, but Waimea Combine's no joke, and I think that's that team that you just can't take it for granted that the situation that they're in as a combined team, because you kind of feel like a lot of combined teams are weak. Waimea just doesn't seem like that kind of team. They're drawing some really good players. um, winning some. They won some. Obviously, that St. Bede's one is good, but they're pulling close on all these other teams as well, which is a great thing. Especially with Nelson College 24-19 is a really good game. That's a really good game, and obviously a local one where the boys know each other and they're really going to pull out their best games, and so that's an interesting scoreline. Really is, and it is going to make me think when I start looking at all the next games that they have and who they actually can push to the edge and get wins that you wouldn't expect them to get. Waimea is going to look really sharp once it comes to the last 5 games of the season, because they could be one of those teams that push themselves into the top 8, and then there's going to be some teams in the top 8 that will fall out that you didn't probably expect to fall out, and they're going to be the problem that happens to some of those teams. Mount Aspiring beating John McGlashan. What's going on, John McGlashan? A too talented of a team to be losing these kind of games. That's what I think anyway. That's how I see John McGlashan as a talented side with too many good players, but you're losing games that you shouldn't lose, or you're losing by too much is like the other thing as well, right? The Dunstan one and this one is the ones that I thought that they would be winning. Again, that scoreline to me would have switched around. I would have thought something like that. I would have thought 27-20 to John McGlashan kind of thing. Because Mount Aspiring's not bad. They're not a bad team. But I still think, the JMC should be winning those. I don't know what's wrong with them. They are better than that to me. They are better than that. Otago winning 42-13 against Dunstan. Otago combined lost to Otago boys second 15. St. Kevin's got massive score again, 59-29 against Southland. I think if they can keep that defense up a bit better, they can cut out some of those tries. 59 is a great scoreline to have. 29 is also a lot of points scored on you, so they got to push a bit more on that defensive side and keep that score low on that other side as well. But I know that when you're winning by that many points or that many tries, you do just get a bit comfortable with that situation and think that a try or not a full effort on the tackle, or not a full effort on blowing out, or not a full effort on getting back is okay. But 29 still feels a bit bad, but 59 is great. Wakatupu winning against Waitaki boys is probably as expected now. And what we know that Waitaki boys is, and they're just going through a rebuilding phase, and they'll be back next year, I reckon. But yeah, the rankings are there. The rankings are good. There's a lot of good games for next week, which I'll be talking about on Friday. But you do have Southland boys who are going to Southland boys high who are going to be playing Kings High School. The number 8 team in the country, Kings High School, playing Southland boys down in Southland boys, and that's going to be interesting as well. But also Wanganui Collegiate, they travel to Lindisfarne tomorrow as well. And that's going to be a real interesting game too. That's really going to be a good game to watch. I'm going to pick Kings to win. I'm going to Collegiate. I'm going to go with Wanganui Collegiate winning just over Lindisfarne. Tararua College is playing Kuranui College as well on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Silverstream play their traditional against Wellington College. I picked Silverstream in that one. And I think those are the only week games that there are. It's just those 4, I think. And those that want to send through girls' games and girls' scores, send them through to me as well. I'm interested in that too. I'm interested in all that kind of stuff. So you can send them through as well, and I'll post them up. Like, I don't mind that at all. The more girls teams we can get out there as well, um, the more we can start talking about them as well. And like I've said this before, that if I could do a top 200 for girls or make it like a top 100 or something, I would do that 100% if I had that time and extra time to do that kind of stuff. I would definitely do that as well and have like a rankings for them too, because you just need to go to the sevens and then see how much talented girls we have now. Before, it was terrible to watch. I didn't like it, and I'm just being honest with you. When I saw it in 2003, 2000, when I saw it in 2013, 2014, and then 2015, it changed a little bit. 2013 and 14 to me was just like you had two, three girls on the field that knew what they were doing, and all the rest were there just to hang out or have a trip up to Auckland or something like that. That's kind of how it looked to me. Every second pass was a drop ball. You know, girls weren't really committed to make that chase and tackle. 2015, it turned around a little bit more, and then the number of players got bigger of who could actually play. And then in 2016 and 17, 18, everyone on that field can pretty much play. Everyone and every single team that comes, especially even under the under 15s, some of those girls are really sharp in the way that they play, and then even the way that they know how to read the game is really impressive now. So to me, I would like to push that more with girls rugby as well, especially in high school, and just have these girls noticed for the same reason that I like doing with the boys, is that they put in so much work, they put in so much effort and sacrifice. And some of these girls are mean netball players. Some of these girls at the end of year 13 have to decide, do I go and play netball or do I play sevens and try and go that route? We kind of have a route now for girls to go semi-pro in terms of like their competition for 15s, but sevens is the route right now. I believe we can have two sevens teams that are really, really competitive and that could compete on the world stage. But we just have one team and we just have to do it like that. But I would like to promote it a lot more. Like I said, I wish I had the time. I wish I had, I guess, just like every sport that I wanted to do. Everyone that knows, that follows me, they know that I want to do basketball, boys and girls. I know I want to do rugby. They want to know, they know that I want to do cricket, league, soccer for the boys and girls, hockey for boys and girls. I want to do rowing for boys and girls. I want to do all sports on top 200. It's just the time and the money. If I get money, which is what I want, and I'm pushing with people so that I can hire people to do exactly what I'm doing, that have the love of the game and have the love of the kids and their effort, then we can get this going. What this does is also is that we know that we don't have a big enough country and a lot of money that we can support all the sports. We know that. We know that because our biggest sport right now, basketball, didn't get any funding. Only until, last month or what? And that wasn't even that big. But the numbers were already there to support it, that they're the best, they're the fastest growing right now. And that's because basketball is so attractive. And our girls are ahead of our boys in basketball from my point of view in terms of going to D1 colleges and getting scholarships. Our girls can get it a lot more easier. But we do have a good structure right now, and they're getting better as well, that we need more coaches out going out there. We need more coaches who are coaches, holding clinics, holding camps, and trying not to charge so much so that you cut out a whole bunch of kids, which I mean the poor kids. That was wrong with New Zealand basketball back in my days. When you had to you go to a kid, we invite you to come to our camp. Hey, guess what? It's $700. Yeah, brown kids aren't paying $700 because they're too scared to ask their parents, "Hey, mum, you got $700? You want to see that shoe fly at you? You wanted to come chase you with the salu after that?" It's like, man, I'm not asking my mum for $700. I'm not even gonna put it towards them. Because for one thing, you don't want to get in trouble for asking that kind of money when you know exactly your parents don't have $700. The other thing is that you don't want to put them in the position to go, I can't provide for my son, and have them hurt their self-esteem as well, thinking that they can't provide something that you really want. Because if island parents and Māori parents and even white parents as well, if they had the money, of course they would give it. But not all of us have the money. I went to a private school that was a brown private school. We didn't have a bunch of white kids at our private school like most private schools in the country. We were all brown, all Mormons, and all at church college, pretty much paid by tithing, by our own church. We never had money for that stuff. We had the most national championships for boys, most national championships for girls. Our girls went on like a 10-year run of winning national championships. Our boys went on like a run of 5, then lose 1, 3, lose 1, back to back. And even now, if you go and look in the record books for who's got the most national championships and high school basketball for boys and girls, Church College is going to be all through that list, and no one's going to beat that record for years to come. No one. Too many titles. If we had banners, you might as well just banner up the whole flipping gym, because that's how many banners we had, national titles. And that's national titles, not like regional titles or zone titles or anything like that. We're talking about national titles. Church College we just made from it. We just made basketball ours. Every single year. But when it came to the camps, none of our kids really went. I even used to hear that like our kids used to go to the iwi and then ask them for a grant or something like that so they could attend some of these camps, and some of them just couldn't, and that's understandable because it's way too high. But we now know we have camps. We now know that we have camps. We know now that we have people that are in basketball that have great basketball minds and that are making up our own basketball style that we play here and that we're comfortable with here with the talent that we have, that we can now create D1 colleges, D1 college players. And we have those kind of ones now, right? And like, who is it? Like my mate Ray. Raymond Cameron is one of the best basketball players that I saw in high school. And I'm not just saying that because he's my boy. If you ask people that knew Raymond when he was... Don't look at Raymond now and think that he wasn't a basketball player. Because he's Mr. Fetty Fat right now, like me. We used to be basketball players and athletes, but now he's not. And I don't care what Ray says, thinking that it's just like, yeah, whatever, like having mocking me. I was like, bro, he was a superstar. Raymond Cameron was a superstar that should have been a superstar to me. And his knowledge, if you just talk to him about basketball, he knows everything about basketball and what you need to do and how you need to do it and what to look for and then how to learn all that stuff. And he will take you through every single position and he'll teach you a whole bunch of things. And we know that we have a bunch of guys like that around the country that need to be having these camps to teach more kids, to bring more kids into that environment. I think that's what it is that it's into that environment. They just need to be in that basketball environment where you just talk, watch, play basketball all the time, and having guys with the same like minds, all doing the same thing. All the coaches in New Zealand should put down their egos, come together, and just build D1 college players. Because right now, the NBA is not about height, which we used to lack before. They used to talk about all these guys who are a 6'3" swing, who are like 6'7", 6'8" swingmen. We used to have small forwards who were 6'8", 6'9", Lamar Odom, 6'11" kind of guys. They wanted you to dribble more than anything else, but now we're just a bunch of shooters in the NBA. You don't need a big man in the NBA right now. Not even to grab rebounds sometimes. If you have a bunch of Draymond Greens, which I think that we have in New Zealand, who are just hard, gritty players that can shoot, we can learn that. We can learn shooting. We can learn dribbling and handles and recognizing screens and cuts, and we can play hard defense. So right now, to me, I think that we are the perfect country in a way that we don't need to worry about height. We just need to worry about the game. We just need to worry about shooting. We just need to play hard defense. Take those charges. Who cares about being dunked on? Stop running away from the dunk, man. You're there to play defense. Play defense. It's not realistic that a bunch of kids run on the floor and jump in just because you got dunked on. That's not a real thing. That doesn't happen in AAU. That's just something that you see on YouTube. That's not real. How many NBA players do you see get dunked on? A whole bunch of people in the crowd jump. That's not real. Don't be scared of playing defense. Who cares if you get dunked on? Everyone gets dunked on. If you're not playing defense, honestly. The person getting dunked on means that he cares that you scored that you're going to score that point. He cares about winning. That's how I see it anyway. Cares about ego and that. But like Raymond is like one of those guys. I think he's got his own basketball thing. The other one that I like is Josiah and Sione Mama. They do that Glen Innes Rise basketball that I really like. If you don't know them, go and look it up on Facebook. And I've spoken to Josiah a few times as well, and we kind of have the same similar way of thinking in terms of we know that we have the talent here in New Zealand. And Ray is the same as well. Ray's the same as well, and he knows too. And these guys are the kind of guys that I like. That I think that if they were to put on a basketball camp, they're not going to charge your parents month's rent just to get you there. Because I feel like that they care more about the game rather than getting paid for it. Like I'm kind of the same too. I'm the same as well. You think I'm doing this for money? No, because I don't have any money, but I love the effort from these kids and I want to help out these kids. I'm going to try and find the money so that we can open up more sports, not find the money so I can have a mean car. Like you see me, some people see me in my car. I don't have a mean car. I don't even have a mean house. But I want to find more money to open up more sports to show more of the world how much talent we have. That's really all it is. Now, to me, that companies that don't want to jump on that means that to me it's a big tell. We don't really care about our kids. That's kind of how I see it. And you guys have got the money to help our kids, and you don't want to. I mean, I also think about it this way, because some of you are sitting there thinking, well, Herschel, they just probably don't like it the way that you do it. I was like, really? Well, what other way is there? It's all these years before I started this up, and nobody's done anything else for the kids, where kids have been able to get that limelight for themselves, and they've been able to celebrate their own efforts and their own sacrifices and their own talents. Nobody else has talked about 500 rugby players yearly that are in high school before they become famous. No one else has done that. You want to show me that website? You want to go on Facebook and send me that link? You ain't going to find it, man. Now, if you got a better way, start it up. That's the way I think. If you got a better way than doing it, start it up. Or else you just don't care that much about kids and their sports. That's the way that I see it. Now, I think that there are guys like myself who look at the sport that they love, like cricket, hockey, netball, whatever the sport that they love, rowing, even MMA and boxing. I think we've got a bunch of MMA boxing guys here in New Zealand that just don't have the backing. And I would try. If that was the sport that I was gunning for first, yeah, I would find you the top 200 fighters in high school and the top Thai boxers, the Thai fighters, the jiu-jitsu guys. I'd find all of them. I'd find the judo people. Like I would just do that because I love it. I'm just starting with rugby. This is New Zealand. We have to try rugby first, and it is successful. My numbers say it's successful. But now let's get basketball boys and girls in there. Let's get softball. I want to move some of these softball, and I know that there's like a thing about softball and baseball, but I want to try and help get kids paid to do things that they love. If the majors and double A, triple A is what it is, Japan is what they need to do. If they would need to go to Korea, South Korea, not North Korea, South Korea, then yeah, why not? Especially if it's what they love. Especially if that's their goal is to be a professional. And remember, and I tell everybody all the time, being a professional, being like your goal for your kid most of the time is not just to be an All Black. It's to be a professional. To play professionally. Not just here in New Zealand, anywhere in the world. They would love to have the opportunity when as they physically can now. Because you can't be a professional in your 40s playing rugby. You don't get their first opportunities then. You can play until your 40s. I mean, look at bloody Adam Thompson. He's almost 40. Or is he 40? Was he 38, 39, something like that? He played his 100. Anyways, I've rambled too much. Watch the game tomorrow. Kings and Southland at 12:30 on Sky. There's also the Lindisfarne and Wanganui Collegiate. If you can get there, go and see it. Even if... No, I'm not going to tell you to wake school or anything like that. But if you have a chance to see Wanganui Collegiate and Lindisfarne, that'll be a mean game to go and see as well. I'll come back with some more... I'm putting up the highlights of the other games as well. Maybe I'll put up some old clips from last year that I recorded last year, and then I might put those up as well, just for people to go and have a watch and have a look. I've been trying to learn how to do some photoshopping and, editing and stuff. Man, this is all new to me. Got YouTube as my best friend helping me out with that, so I can learn all that kind of stuff. But this is Herschel Fruin, High School Top 200. Remember, going to my website, click on ads, click a couple of ads, get me paid. Don't have to buy anything, whatever. Like, subscribe, comment, send it to your friends, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that when you go to games, please speak nice. Don't be dickheads to kids on the field, because they are kids on the field. And I hear parents say some stuff, and I really want to say something, but then it's going to put me in a bad mood, and then I probably won't concentrate that much on the game. But parents, please be nice, because you remember, you're talking to kids. You can't tell one kid to rip another kid's head off. You're an idiot if you say that kind of stuff. All right? High School Top 200, Monday morning meeting. It's closed. That's us. Peace.